Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
You can call me at 1-800-MICHAEL.
And I am Big Shane Stud.
Welcome to episode 218, Monday Night Nitro.
Something's going to happen.
Something.
We're covering a Nitro. That means something's going to happen.
Or maybe it's just a really good episode.
Maybe.
We shall see.
We shall see. But usually if it's a really good episode, it usually means something happens.
Yeah.
This was the 51st episode of Nitro, produced by WCW. It would take place on September 2nd, 1996, from the UTC Arena in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
So 1 week off from
Full
year.
Yep. And this episode had a TV rating of 4.3.
Not bad, not bad.
And I believe that Raw was on hiatus
And
this week.
Probably had a dog show.
Yes,
I think it was a dog show or tennis or something
Exactly.
going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Westminster tennis show.
Yes.
I'd watch dogs play tennis.
Who would?
I don't know.
I'd be intrigued, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Do they put it on their tail?
Or did they hold it in their mouth?
Tomato.
Pretty much. But we are in Tennessee.
Boy, are we ever.
So Shane, did you do what you do?
Well, here we are. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Home of the Chattanooga Choo Choo. So I did what I do, and I looked up on the old internet the official dessert of Tennessee. And it turns out it's something that I've always been intrigued by, but never actually tried. I've had different versions of it as far as like ice cream with the same flavor or a milkshake that we have at work with the same flavor using that ice cream. But I've never actually tried banana pudding.
You've never had banana pudding? That's what this is? I'm excited.
It's banana pudding.
Damn, you've never had banana pudding?
No, because, I grew up in Nebraska, and it wasn't really a thing that we had up there. And I was a kid that was afraid of all kinds of things growing up, and anything that didn't sound like it belonged together didn't get put in my mouth. So, banana and pudding didn't sound right to me.
Oh, it's so right.
You want to hear the weirdest thing? My wife likes banana pudding as long as it doesn't have real bananas in it.
See, a lot of people it's like people like the onion flavor without the onion texture. I like bananas, but I don't like banana flavored things typically, like artificial banana flavor. But I'm willing to try it because the Runts candies and whatnot, I always put those specific ones aside because they just had too funky of a banana flavor, or banana taffy I never liked. But here we go, banana pudding. Let's try.
So good.
I love banana pudding.
Whoa. Okay.
Does this one have real bananas in it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
This here is
It's got
from...
vanilla wafers though.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, there's something at the bottom. Oh, yeah, that's a wafer.
Yeah, there's a big wafer at the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damn.
Kind of like a crust.
I love banana pudding.
This here is from Clark Crew Barbecue.
Oh, I've actually had this before, though.
Yeah, I've never eaten at Clark Crew, but I looked at banana pudding, and that was the one that was ranked at the top of the list on Yelp. So I figured, what the hell, it's on the way.
Yeah, it's a solid barbecue
Even better.
spot. Solid barbecue spot for sure.
Very good barbecues.
Might have to try them sometime. Yeah, I could definitely eat this more often. I am curious to know what it would taste like with the real bananas in it too. So
Even better.
I mean, just
I was kind of hoping
gives that additional texture and flavor of a real banana.
do like a bananas Foster pudding or something. That'd be good.
For sure. The people love the giant gas station, Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Their barbecue sandwiches are bad, but they have a banana pudding. It is great. It is the thing I would suggest if you go through one of those, because you can get an okay barbecue sandwich or a bad barbecue sandwich, and you don't know what you're gonna get. It's a grab bag, but the banana pudding is always good. It's hard to mess up.
Slapped every time, huh?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yay, snacks for the show now. I was worried I wasn't going to like it. I was going to have to pass it off like Matt does with coffee, but...
I understand, though, like, people not liking the super, like a super strong fake banana flavor. This one isn't too strong, but I think sometimes they don't use banana-flavored pudding. Sometimes just vanilla pudding with real bananas in it.
Yeah,
typically.
that was the quick, easy recipe one that I had found where it's like, just take a vanilla pudding cup, add some sliced bananas and vanilla wafers, mix it together, and then serve. Like, that's vanilla pudding with bananas. That's not banana pudding.
Yeah, but I don't know.
You get the flavor.
Yeah. But
Usually if you chop the banana up enough. So it's throughout the entire thing.
Score!
Absolutely. Well, a few TV shows would also debut right around the same time as this episode of Nitro. We got 4 of them.
Okay.
We got the animated series of Mighty Ducks and Superman.
Never watched either of those.
But the Superman one, like the WB one, that was a
Basically
good
a
show.
continuation of the Batman, same style.
And then they did like, I think it turned into like the Unlimited.
Yeah,
thing.
they went into Justice League.
Yeah,
And,
those were good shows.
yeah. But we also had Big Bad Beetleborgs
Never watched
and
that one.
Blue's Clues.
Okay, now that one I have seen.
Blue's Clues, I think I was like a little too old for it, but my sister was like 2 years younger than me. So like Nick Jr., it's like, oh, like, you know, I saw a good amount of Blue's Clues.
Good old Steve.
I was a big fan of Face.
Yes, I had to think for a second there. Because, I mean, I was way too old for Blue's Clues, but I have way too many nieces and nephews. I shouldn't say way too many. I have just the right amount of nieces and
There you
nephews,
go.
which is like tons. But yeah, I learned all about Blue's Clues right from the start just because of all the nieces and nephews and the fact that I have, well, at the time I had several sisters that were doing daycare. So Blue's Clues was a big thing. Blue's Clues and Barney, baby.
The Mel song was always my favorite.
Yeah, I was trying to remember
for
how it
Blue's
goes.
Clues.
We just got a letter. I mean, everything had the same song. It just had different words.
Now, Big Bad Beetleborgs, guys.
I remember what was the Transformers with tigers and monkeys? Beast Wars.
Okay.
I remember Beast Wars.
I mean-
Big Bad Beetleborgs. I think I remember the toy commercials. I don't know if I ever actually watched the show.
This is possibly the most insane show ever made. It's made by the same people who do Power Rangers. Okay? But it's like a horror TV show combined with like Power Rangers. So these kids go and find this haunted mansion and they run into a ghost who ends up granting them one wish, and they all wish to become their favorite comic book hero, which happened to be the Big Bad Beetleborgs. And so then they fight off all of the other ghosts as their favorite superheroes.
So are they wearing like costumes or are they big beetles?
No, they're costumes.
Okay. But they turn into one big beetle? Or no?
No.
Okay. The Borg thing makes me feel like there's some kind of mech suit a la...
Yeah, I mean, it's a mech looking suit.
Okay. I was thinking that like maybe they had like... Because the Power Ranger suits are just like spandex.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got you. They're like a clunkier Power Ranger. They got armor or whatever.
But that, like each one of them has like horns, like a.
I didn't realize there was a like haunted house element to it.
But now I do remember seeing
I
video
didn't either.
covers at Blockbuster.
Because I literally just watched the first episode maybe like a year or so ago just to like
See what it was.
And I was just like,
A little flabbergasted.
like after watching one episode, I was just like, no, like could not watch this to save my life.
So do they do in typical Power Ranger style where it's, you know, American kids in this one scene and then all of a sudden they transform into the Beetleborgs and it drops in the footage from
Yes,
Japan?
because it's combat
Yeah,
footage from a Japanese
Okay, that was my
show.
question as well.
And
Because
they
it's a Saban.
It's a
voice dub over.
Saban show. So, like...
And that's probably another reason why I never decided to watch it, because, you know, I had to watch several episodes of Power Rangers with the nieces and nephews, and then VR Troopers came along, and that was just terrible.
VR Troopers is pretty bad, too.
I never really felt the need to watch anything. You know, a Power Rangers movie came out, so I decided to watch that one because the nieces and nephews wanted to go to it, and...
The movies are fun.
Then I was done from there. It was like, all right, I'm almost in my 20s now. I don't have any kids of my own. I don't need to be watching any more Power Rangers.
More of a Godzilla guy.
Did you ever watch the Mighty Ducks animated series?
I don't remember it. I saw both the movies in the theater. Knuckle Puck.
Cake eater.
I mean, they basically, instead of it being humans, it was...
Oh, ducks!
It was actual ducks.
I do remember
They were from another planet, universe, something like that.
They were trying to do a Turtles thing, but with hockey, kind of.
And they ended up...
This does sound more familiar, because I was trying to picture, like, animated children
But, like,
playing
hockey was a way of life on their planet. Because it was an icy planet. But they actually go through a portal and end up on Earth, and then they become a legitimate NHL team.
That sounds kind of cute.
Cool running.
Ian Ziering actually voices the lead character.
Who's
Steve
Steiners from 90210.
Oh, okay. I was like, I know that name. The curly haired guy.
Yeah. It was like...
Yeah, it's interesting.
I never actually saw it either because it was a little bit past my time of watching cartoons.
If it was, I watched cartoons for a very long time, but if it wasn't on Nickelodeon, I typically didn't really care. I still saw other things, but I basically was more into the gross Nickelodeon cartoons than anything else. I was definitely a Nickelodeon kid.
But, you know, those 4 shows, sense of nostalgia.
A couple that are totally memorable: Superman and Blue's Clues, and Superman is still talked about in high regard today. And then the Mighty Ducks, didn't even remember it, but jogged my memory. And Big Bad Beetleborgs, couldn't have guessed that premise.
Literally,
if
you want to watch something
that's
just the weirdest thing ever, I believe it's out there. The pilot's out there on YouTube.
So they fight ghosts. I'd like to see what the villains look like, but I've got time to do that later. We've got wrestling to talk about, but I'm curious to see what their villains look like, because I know what Power Rangers villains look like. It's a giant pig with like a Roman hat on.
Old pudgy pig.
The first episode I ever saw.
It's one of the best episodes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's the only one I remember.
He's one of the most memorable.
It's the only
bad guy.
Yeah, that's why I remember it.
A homeless witch running around a
Spaceship.
laboratory, whatever it is.
It's been 10,000 years.
I'm screaming, but my mouth doesn't move to the words.
Yeah, I like that they recast her with the ageless Elizabeth Banks for the more recent movie.
Well, let's talk some Nitro from September 2nd, 96. Flames go down the street with highlights in the back till it blows up the Nitro logo.
I mean, the intro. I say it every time, but I love it so much.
Tony Schiavone welcomes us to the show, and he's joined by the living legend, Larry Zbyszko, on commentary. And they preview the matches on the show before Tony sends us to footage from Nitro the previous week, where we see the NWO spray paint the production trucks. And Ted DiBiase showing up, watching from the crowd.
They are some pretty terrible spray painters.
They are bad at it. You think they'd get some cardboard in practice?
Yeah.
I know they're doing it on the fly, and there's a bunch of stuff going on, but I mean, I'd like to see their penmanship.
I mean, it looks very sad. It takes away any of their street cred or their badness because they're that terrible with the spray paint can. When in my memory, it was like I remember them spray painting stuff all the time, but I guess maybe I just never paid attention because it was more of a what the fuck is happening here situation.
And you weren't quite checking on their ability.
But we go to our first match: Diamond Dallas Page versus Alex Wright.
Das
Wunderkind.
It's been a while, I feel like.
We haven't seen him since Slamboree 96, episode 201.
Okay. So a little bit.
Been a few weeks. And match gets going with Alex doing some kip-ups off of a wrist lock, so DDP nails him with a forearm. But Das Wunderkind retaliates with a spinning heel kick and a clothesline that sends Page out to the floor. Wright follows out with a plancha and continues the attack with right hands and European uppercuts before rolling DDP in and following in with a slingshot splash for a 2 count.
I like seeing Alex Wright. You know, he's got a fun moveset for WCW, especially in that period right before we start to get our cruiserweights. He was one of the flashier guys.
Oh, yeah.
Not as tenured, of course, but with the right guy, his stuff comes off clean.
His definite, like 90s porn music or music.
Yeah, the ED, like
not afraid to bust into a little dance break.
no.
Does his little pre-version of the floss or whatever it is, like Conan O'Brien floss.
Oh,
not the thing that the kids started doing.
Not the Fortnite dance or whatever.
Alex's whip is reversed, but he comes off the ropes with a crossbody that Page ducks, sending Wright flying into the ropes, allowing DDP to gain control with stomps, chokes, and a tilt-a-whirl side slam for a near fall.
And from what I hear, Diamond Dallas Page has been messing around with the Guerrero family.
Yep, he's pissing off Eddie, pissing off Lil Chavo.
Yeah.
Page hits a sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count, and he goes for the cutter, only for Alex to shove DDP off into a corner, catching him on the bounce back with a belly-to-belly suplex for a near fall. Wright hits some uppercuts, mounted punches, charges, and flips off of Page's chest, but DDP drops him with the diamond cutter out of nowhere for the pin and the win.
Diamond cutter out of nowhere.
Alex Wright shouldn't have been trying to stunt on him with that fancy flip.
I know, it's like, what does this flip do for you?
He felt too good about it, and then he got diamond cuttered for it. I mean, it was a good out for his loss, but Diamond Dallas Page is obviously,
Yeah, Alex showing his youth there.
Yeah, it's like, they're talking about him having a feud with the Guerreros, so I didn't think that Alex Wright was long for this world in this match. But it's a solid first match. It's fun, it's quick, hard hitting, and there's some fun moves. And this crowd's hot. It's NWO fever. There's homemade NWO shirts, probably for a while.
Yeah.
for through all of '96 until they make enough of them. Yeah, until they make enough of them, and then people will purchase them.
We then get Mean Gene in the aisleway, where he interviews the referee, Nick Patrick. And Okerlund interrogates him about possible slow counts in that last match, which I don't remember seeing any.
No.
But,
But Nick Patrick is...
That's the story. That's the storyline that they're going with here.
He's suspect. I mean, we all saw Hog Wild.
Yeah, the double shoulder block, whatever it was, to the knee.
Hey, man, if it doesn't work the first time.
Patrick then brings up the controversy that Mean Gene continues to stir up. But if there is so much, why do I still have a job? Good point. Mm-hmm. Nick then talks about Randy Anderson, how he blew a call in a Hogan match. Is Okerlund all over his ass? He's got points.
True. Put your money where your mouth is, Gene.
Patrick continues saying he is sick and tired of it, and all the things you're hearing about me are lies, before saying if you're in the ring with me, you better follow the rules.
That's right. He's going to call it by the book. He's going to stick to the letter. All those other things. Down the middle.
Right down the middle. We then go to break, where we get Mean Gene and Marcus Alexander Bagwell doing a merch commercial. But when we return to the arena, Okerlund's in the locker room with Colonel Robert Parker and Sister Sherry.
I got to point out also on that commercial, they were seriously selling $40 shirts back in 1996.
It was a denim shirt.
Yeah.
It was made out of denim. It was embroidered.
I mean, I know it was stonewashed and all, but still.
It would be great to have one of...
I roll my eyes at a $40 shirt now, so I was expecting 1996 to be a little cheaper, but I guess I wasn't buying $40 shirts back then either.
Yeah, I'd love a long sleeve denim Nitro shirt. That'd be fun.
And the Colonel says that Harlem Heat is going to be on their own tonight because he has gifts for his sweetie. A leather vest and leather chaps. And I was like, wonder what he has on his mind.
Yeah.
Bring out the gimp.
I like he calls her Twinkle Eyes.
So we go to our second match. Greg Valentine and Buddy Valentino versus Harlem Heat. of Booker T and Stevie Ray for the WCW World Tag Team Championships.
Greg!
We haven't seen the Hammer since Royal Rumble 94.
Damn.
Episode 110.
Greg's looking all right. Again,
Doesn't look like he's aged today.
He's never looked better than he does when he's in a WCW ring.
He's actually still held up today. If you've seen any, like, it's like he's old, but like, you know, he's always been a barrel-chested guy. He's not like super out of shape. He still has that tiny little face, and
Age has finally caught up to his.
Supposedly,
looks.
He's one of the nicest guys to do it. Granted, you know, we didn't really cover his heyday, but he's always been a solid hand.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So as the match gets going, we see Ted DiBiase make his way through the crowd to his seat at ringside.
Shit.
And like I said, crowds are hot. It's NWO. We never know who's coming in, and Ted DiBiase, well, you know, he's been partying over at the Federation for the last decade.
So Greg hits a back elbow and a chin lock on Booker before ducking a leg lariat, then delivering an elbow to the top of the head. The Hammer with an elbow drop and a backbreaker before tagging in Buddy, who gets a boot to the gut by Booker T, allowing him to make a tag.
And I noticed something that really bummed me out. Greg's trunks just say the Hammer on the back of them, but it's obviously spray paint and stencil, and it made me very, very sad. That he deserves more than that.
What happened to his classic Hammer trunks, man?
They probably got a little funky. But, I mean, maybe he's just really cheap. You know, he hasn't been working regularly.
Could be.
But it bummed me out. I was like, I want more for Greg.
Stevie Ray with some forearms, but then has his whip reversed, allowing Valentino to hit a dropkick. Stevie then reverses a whip, sending Buddy to the ropes, where Booker kicks him in the head from the apron, followed by an elbow drop from Stevie Ray.
Booker stretched that leg out 12 feet or something like
I
that.
mean, that dude's got... People talk about wingspan. That guy's got legs all the way up to his chin.
A running clothesline and chokes from Stevie, followed by a leg lariat from Booker T on Valentino for a 2 count. Harlem Heat keeps up the attack with a thrust kick from Booker, a scoop slam and side slam from Stevie Ray, before a Harlem hangover from Booker T for the pin and the win. We then get Mean Gene in the aisleway with Harlem Heat, and Oakland says they will defend their belts versus the Nasty Boys at Fall Brawl.
Yeah.
With Stevie saying he's sick and tired of the Nasties getting in their business.
It's been enough time for them to have another feud, right?
I mean, it's been a little bit, but
I just hope there's no garbage.
Booker continues with that they finished them a while ago, and he doesn't know what gives them the courage to try again. And suddenly Stevie Ray goes flying into the cameraman, and then into the ring, as the Nasty Boys attack from behind.
They're the boys.
They're beating Harlem Heat down, sending Stevie into the steel steps before hitting a spike pile driver on Booker T inside the ring.
Nasty boys.
Stevie Ray's back to his feet, so the Nasties go back out after him, brawling as we head to commercial break.
But not before the 1-800-COLLECT replay.
1-800-COLLECT.
I know.
Back when you had to call a number so that number could call somebody for you so they could pay for that call.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Remember the collect wars of the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
Like 10-10...
10-10-220?
Yeah, 10-10-220.
1-800 call ATT.
Which one was the one, Had a Baby Eats a Boy? Greatest commercial of all time?
We still use that one occasionally.
Yeah. You remember that, Matt?
I have no clue.
It was like a 1-8... I don't know if it was collect or ATT, but it was a collect call commercial, and you had like a few seconds to say your name.
You have a collect call from
I mean, I know.
Had a Baby Eats a Boy.
I know what a collect call is.
Yeah, but the joke was that like
I
they
never saw
just
I
had
never
the
saw
kid,
commercial.
but they were calling like their parents or something to tell them. They're like, "Had a baby, it's a boy," but instead of paying for it, they'd say that fast
Gotcha.
for the name.
Yep.
And "Had a Baby, it's a Boy" was.
I used to do that often.
It's funny. It's a really good commercial.
Make that call because I had no change because after a while the operators just got tired of connecting calls because your payphone quote unquote ate your quarter.
Yeah, you're like, Mama Chain, pick me up.
Yep, off work late.
Yeah.
Be home soon.
But it's so clever that they were like, selling their service by showing ways to cheat it.
because long distance was way too expensive.
We all still remember. It's not. I guess 2 or 3 of us still remember it to this day. But that's enough of the collect call corner.
We come back from the commercial and we get a Glacier training montage.
Ooh.
How long has this band been coming?
He still hasn't debuted at this point.
I know, it's crazy. And it almost looks like there's 2 different guys because, like, they just show different clips of him, like, doing kicks or whatever, and then he had, like, nunchucks or whatever, and I was like, well, maybe there's 2 guys now, but it was just Glacier.
Yeah.
He was just showing. It's like, what is he going to do with nunchucks? You can't use them in the ring.
Well, you'll see once he debuts. That's his moveset. And it's like, hi, I'm in the ring. I'm going to pretend to use nunchucks. Well, do the little nunchuck moves and my karate chops like I'm doing in the little training montage. Yeah, I don't really remember much of Glacier matches.
They've really put a lot into these promos, though. They've been going on forever.
I believe he debuts the Monday after Fall Brawl.
Okay.
So he's got a debut for Halloween Havoc.
And then,
otherwise, it's just, I said Havoc.
It's okay.
And he basically disappears to Saturday night real quick.
Really? Yeah. They're like, ooh, it's kind of, he has just maybe a shorter reign than even the Shockmaster.
Basically.
Yeah.
Shockmaster, they at least took the mask off and, like, put him into multiple pay-per-views.
Yeah, he's got the popularity of Renegade without the I'm tied to Hulk Hogan factor to him.
Oh, Renegade.
We then go to our third match. Dean Malenko versus the Lionheart, Chris Jericho.
I'm all for this.
Absolutely.
And Mike Tenay joins the commentary booth for this match. And we're also told that he will be a permanent part of the second hour in the booth from now on Nitro.
I mean, we're happy to hear it. We're all Mike Tenay fans.
Yep.
Mike Tenay is a wrestling fan, which doesn't happen all the time in wrestling. Looking at you, Eric Bischoff.
So the two start the match with some fun mat wrestling and arm wrenches when Chris would hit a back suplex. They would then start running the ropes with athletic leapfrogs and roll-throughs, only for Jericho to nail a reverse enziguri, a spinning heel kick, and multiple other kicks. But Malenko catches his leg finally and drops Jericho with a back suplex and a brainbuster for a 2 count.
ECW. There's some fans out there that know what it is, and we're in Tennessee, and they got maybe they get ECW on channel 53 or something out there. But there's a couple ECW chants. Maybe the first ECW chants we've heard outside of an ECW ring.
I think there's been some
I guess yeah.
WWF show.
Yeah.
Well,
when they were in
WWF
Philly.
ones, when you had Public Enemy when they first came on.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good point. Yeah, and then there was also that show more recently where the long hair guy was at a show, and then on ECW,
the King of the Ring was in Philadelphia, and I think there was a chance for ECW that night too.
Yeah, I think the long hair guy was there, and somebody, I think Shane Douglas or Taz, gave him shit at an ECW show for going to a WWF show. Fun stuff.
So Dean's stomping away on Chris, and he begins to wear down Jericho with holds, as DiBiase decides he's seen enough of the show and leaves up the stairs to the concourse. And I was like, this is the match you're going to leave on?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, the NWO doesn't have an affiliation or a fondness for the cruiserweights. They're there to destroy the cruiserweight division. So at least that's the way the cruiserweights eventually feel. So this is planting that seed. Is how I saw it.
I mean, the first 2 matches weren't bad, but for TV matches. But this is Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm. This is fucking good.
This is pay-per-view worthy, like, matchup.
Maybe that's what it is. I can't contend with these guys. These guys are too good. These guys would have been great during my 1987-1988 run where old Ted DiBiase was treated like a superstar.
Malenko has a head scissors on, and he's using leverage from the ropes for a little extra help. But Jericho is able to get to his feet with Dean on his shoulders for an electric chair drop. Malenko rakes the eyes to slow the momentum, and he nails a butterfly suplex for a near fall before applying an ab stretch, pulling on the ropes for leverage here as well, only for Chris to hip toss Dean to escape it. Jericho goes after Malenko, but he's pulled into a turnbuckle before charging into a big boot in the corner. allowing Dean to deliver a springboard bulldog for a 2 count. Malenko then hits a crossbody to Chris on the ropes that sends them both tumbling over to the floor. Dean rolls Jericho into the ring, but Chris is up to stop Malenko on the apron with right hands. He takes him down with a baseball slide before flying over the ropes with a springboard crossbody. They then return to the ring with Jericho leaping off the top turnbuckle with a missile dropkick for a near fall. He goes for a tombstone, but Dean reverses it into one of his own for several 2 counts. Dean then sends Jericho to a corner, who leaps up and over a charging Malenko, followed by taking him over with a bridging German for a near fall.
I like the mix of cheers and jeers for Jericho. It's like he's newer here, but like crowd's not fully behind him or, against him. It's like neither of these guys feels like a full heel or face.
Chris hits a spinning wheel kick, followed by the 2 men fighting over a waistlock, only for Jericho to reverse it into a wheelbarrow victory roll for the pin and the win.
So they're working on making Chris Jericho a big blonde babyface?
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he sure looks like one at the moment.
Yeah, he definitely looks more at place than when we were seeing him in ECW. I mean, he was at ease in ECW, but he just looks great under the brighter lights in WCW.
Oh, yeah. And, doesn't help that, doesn't hurt that Dean Malenko is on the other side of the ring from him. I mean, there's only a few other people that could be better, that would be better to do the job for him. Obviously, Benoit is not going to do it on TV at the moment since he's in the Horsemen and a little more established. But like those 3 guys, it doesn't matter who's on either side of the ring, you're going to get a solid match. And if it's on pay-per-view, probably a great match.
Shivani then sends us to a video package about Rey Mysterio and Super Callow, where we get highlights from both men shown from various shows. And then we go to a commercial, followed by a WCW Saturday Night ad. Steve McMichael takes on John Tenta.
Ooh.
The Blue Bloods have split up. So
Already?
Squire David Taylor and Earl Robert Eaton will battle. Plus Jericho and Macho Man and more will be in action.
R.I.P. Blue Bloods.
I know, they were too short.
Yeah, I mean, they lasted probably longer than I thought they would have just because of it started off with, wasn't that what Regal and Hunter were called? Were they the Blue Bloods to start off with? Yeah, so I mean, they'd already gone through a couple different iterations.
Yeah, but I just meant the more recent one.
Yeah. Earl Robert of Eaton.
We then go to our 4th match. Brad Armstrong.
It's Brad!
Versus the Giant with Jimmy Hart.
That's a mismatch.
And we haven't seen Armstrong since Slamboree 96.
Poor Brad's going to eat
Episode 201.
Poor Brad's going to eat the pin.
A little bit.
Brad tries to use his speed advantage, sliding under the Giant and hitting multiple drop kicks, but just gets shoved away. Armstrong goes for a waistlock, but the Giant again uses his power to shove Brad to a corner for forearms, turnbuckle smashes, and boot chokes. We then see a black limo pulling up outside of the arena.
Who could it be?
While the Giant continues the punishment in the ring. Armstrong's picked up, but he wiggles his way free to attempt a sunset flip, but the Giant just picks him up by the throat to throw him down. Brad is then tossed to the floor, followed by the Giant dragging him back up to the apron by his hair, only for Armstrong to hotshot the big man across the top rope. Brad then comes off the top turnbuckle with a missile dropkick that staggers the Giant.
Yeah.
And Armstrong charges in, only for the Giant to grab him again to deliver a chokeslam for the pin and the win.
Nobody gets up from the chokeslam.
And we see the limo still outside as we head to break. But when we come back, the following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order. It's in black and white, and Hogan's on a stage saying that they don't have to sneak around anymore. They don't have to hide in the shadows. We are the champions of the world. We've got the NWO belt. And we left the Giant laying, and the hole in WCW is going to fall to our feet. After I beat the Giant and the dirtiest player in the game, they were both crying. The World Crybaby Wrestlers. At War Games versus the establishment of WCW, Sting will be stung, Luger will be hung, Flair won't even be there, and Arn won't be Arn anymore. You gotta change with the times, but when we get you in the cage, we're gonna bring you up to speed. I know what works now. You have to take what you want, and you have to bond together for business reasons only. The way the establishment bonded, it made me cry a little bit, but it was real weak. What you gonna do in War Games when the NWO destroys you? Anything less would be civilized.
Aww.
I like the weird,
Right,
very 90s, like, it's just him, like, in, like, a photo shoot style looking room, and it's just, like, a bunch of different angles and quick cuts. Yeah, it's got a
guerrilla-esque style of filming.
for sure. Feels kind of like music video-ish, but for a promo.
The timer and pyro then goes off for hour number 2 of Nitro. So Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Mike Tenay are now our commentators. And they recap last week's Nitro, where we again see the production trailer being spray painted, DiBiase flashing the number 4 and 5, followed by the NWO coming out to beat up the Horsemen, Sting and Luger, before taking over the broadcast booth. We then head to our 5th match, Ron Studd versus Macho Man Randy Savage. And we haven't seen Studd since World War III, 1995, episode 173, when he was the Yeti.
Oh, the Yeti.
Oh. I was like, who is Ron Studd? He's the Yeti.
He is the Yeti.
The humping mummy himself.
That's right.
That's right.
The mummy, what was his next little
He was a
costume
ninja.
after that?
He
That's what it was.
Ninja next, and now he's Big Ron Studd.
I mean, he should
protege of Big John.
He's no Big John Studd.
No, Jay's definitely not Big John Studd, but here we go.
So Ron uses his size advantage early on with forearms across the back,
He is big as hell.
a double choke lift, and ramming Macho into turnbuckles. We go outside, and we see the Outsiders and Hogan getting out of the limo, with them acting like another person is in there, but they close the door so the camera can't see inside. Back to the action, Studd goes to throw Savage out of the ring, but the ref stops him, so he just power slams him down for a 2 count. And Ron starts to argue with the ref, which allows Macho to recover and pulls Studd through the ropes to the floor, where Savage flies off the top with a double axe handle.
With the double sledge.
Mike Tenay says that Ron Studd was in the New Japan dojo. I was like, he obviously didn't last long.
Maybe that's where he met John. John seems like he would have been, not total pun intended, but a big hit in Japan.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably could have made some money there.
But yeah,
I don't
it
know.
kept bugging me because Eric kept saying, at least I noticed Eric saying it over and over again, calling it a double sledge. And in my mind, I kept saying, it's a double axe handle. It's a double axe handle, not a double sledge.
Back in the ring, Macho hits a body slam and the Savage elbow drop for the pin and the win.
Ron with that late kick.
He tried. A little too late, but he tried.
Mean Gene then interviews Savage in the aisleway, and Okerlund mentions that Macho has the Giant at Fall Brawl, and then Hogan at Halloween Havoc.
I mean, they're booking matches like that far out.
And Savage says that the Giant couldn't handle the pressure of defending WCW, so he will take over from here on out, before guaranteeing victory in both of those matches.
I do think it's weird that Macho's just mad at the Giant for, like, losing. It's like, oh, yeah, I get it, but, like, now you want to beat him up for losing instead of just going for Hogan. You're Macho Man Randy Savage. You pretty much have carte blanche for a title match at any point in your career.
Yeah.
Between the Slim Jim sales and the quality and fame of your long tenured career. You can always have that match.
I just wish Randy would remember that he didn't beat Hogan right away either. He had to lose to him a few times. Not that I'm, standing up for the Giant, but come on, he's a young 20-something who's just finding his feet.
We all know that Randy's intense and he doesn't like it when he doesn't get what he wants.
We then go to our 6th match. Sting and Lex Luger versus the Steiner brothers of Rick and Scott. And before the match gets going, we cut to the back where the 4 horsemen are going after the limo. But there's nobody inside as we head to break.
Where are they? I always mistake the woofs for boos at first. Every time. I'm like, oh yeah, no, they're woofs because
Rick.
Because woo, woo. But they sound like boos at first. And I'm like, why would you boo the Steiner brothers?
We then get a Fall Brawl War Games commercial. But when we come back to the action inside the ring, Rick shoves Lex off of a collar and elbow, where he barely grazes Nick Patrick, who calls for the DQ victory for the Steiners.
Son of a bitch.
Nicholas.
I mean, he said he was going to call it down the line, guys.
Yeah,
He was going to call everything by the rules. He touched a ref. Everybody's yelling at him, including the Steiners, who don't even want the win that way. And Lex and Stinger then stalk after Patrick down the aisleway.
I mean, it's a great way to get Nick Patrick heat because if it wasn't working, it works here. It's Lex Luger and Sting versus the Steiner brothers. Like,
Who doesn't want to see
Yeah,
this
you couldn't
match?
have like 4 people in the ring that you'd rather see fight, really, even like in this whole roster.
Yeah.
And it goes a few seconds and then gets DQ. So whether you thought he did the right thing or not, you're pissed because
You just robbed me of this fucking match.
I want to see Lex and Sting and the Steiner brothers as often as I can get it, as long as it's not every week.
We then go to our 7th match, the Dungeon of Doom of Kevin Sullivan, Big Bubba, and the Faces of Fear of Meng and the Barbarian, with Jimmy Hart, versus the 4 Horsemen of the Nature Boy Ric Flair, the Enforcer Arn Anderson, the Crippler Chris Benoit, and Steve Mongo McMichael.
Doesn't even have a good nickname.
With woman Miss Elizabeth and Debra.
See, I wish they would have called him the Mongo, Steve McMichael.
That's really good.
It would have fit in a little better at least.
So if they're the 4 horsemen, what do you call these 3 women? Think about it. I don't have anything off the top of my head.
I was like trying to think of the first thing that came to mind, but nothing came to mind.
Yeah.
So Mongo gets taken down by Sullivan, followed by a double stomp. But McMichael comes back with a shoulder tackle before trying a second rope double stomp of his own, only for Kevin to have moved. Big Bubba tags in and he knocks Mongo into the ropes before nailing a boss man straddle.
And in these first 30 seconds, Mongo botches so much it looks like he's doing it on purpose. It looks like he's just not playing ball, but I think he's just an incredibly bad wrestler and should not be starting the match.
Yeah, and should not be a horseman.
Well, absolutely not. But the last horseman was like Lex Luger, really. Like after that, it's just like, oh, it kind of changes. But like,
it was Paul Roma, sir.
I know, and I was the defender of Paul Roma. But I will say that like the last true horseman, it probably ends with Lex, and then it, and then
Barry was after Lex, wasn't he?
Oh,
maybe. But like up to that point, and then it's just like the horseman is just kind of like it's not really the horseman, but it is because Rick and
I really like the potential of the Flair, Arn,
Chris,
and then rotating Pillman, Malenko option.
Yeah, I mean Pillman, if he stuck around, would have been really cool here. But we all know that.
Yeah, Malenko's got the skill set, but he just doesn't have the personality to be a horseman.
Yeah, and if they did it longer with Pillman, and Pillman could have been the wild card, and they drag out the wild card thing to the point where they can't handle it anymore, it would have been cool. Pillman also would have been granted, we're gonna get Crow Sting, but Pillman would have been the great guy hiding in the rafters, without anything on at all except for just looking like a fucking dude at a fucking grunge show with a baseball bat. He would have done that probably even better than Sting did, but we all know the Pillman fate, and if you don't, just keep listening.
Raven looked to him.
Yeah, except for Except for, he's great.
Standing out there with a cane with his apocalypse.
He looks like Raven, but has the charisma of Flair, whereas like Raven has the charisma of a fucking baked potato, a dry baked potato.
Big Bubba then slides out to the floor, only for McMichael to deliver a left jab. He's like laying on the ropes, and he just kind of like sticks his arm out.
I guess I have to do this during the paycheck.
The weakest looking jab ever. Mongo then hits an atomic drop on the floor before rolling back in to hit a back body drop. The Crippler tags in, but Bubba uses a thumb to the eyes to take Benoit to the opposite corner for the Barbarian to tag in. And Barbie gets into a chop exchange before sending the Crippler to another corner, charging in only for Benoit to avoid and hit a release German. The Crippler goes up to the top rope where Sullivan intervenes, allowing the Barbarian to climb up to the top, where Benoit headbutts him back off to the mat, followed by a diving headbutt for a 2 count. Nate and Meng both tag in as the cameras have found Nick Patrick still being chased outside of the building by Sting and Luger. But he doesn't get into the limo. Instead, ducks behind a semi-truck, only for Sting and Luger to see Ted DiBiase getting into the limo.
Oh, it's confirmed. It's confirmed.
And the Stinger grabs a cinder block and throws it through the door window as the limo drives off.
Awesome.
Yep.
He just like picks up a rock, doesn't even think about it for a second, and just slams it through the back window. It actually, we've all know that from here to at least 2000, limos become abundant. But he has this like
that one. Limo, you got a target on your back.
Yeah, but like his brick throw actually feels real.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of these backstage segments don't come off as visceral as they're supposed to. This one, like, it's like I did. That was the last thing I expected, and it went straight through that window.
And I'm also very glad that you wrote the words in the notes here that it was the door window, because once again, Eric Bischoff repeatedly after it happens talks about Sting throwing a brick or a brick-like object through the windshield. The windshield, the windshield, the windshield. It's not the fucking windshield.
It's not the windshield.
It's the window.
It's the very back passenger like door.
So as the limo's driving off, Sting and Luger are like, we got to give chase. So they hijack a police car and drive off after them.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that APB from the Chattanooga police.
I don't remember which one of the announcers, but yeah, as it was happening, and Sting and Lex are going to jail.
Yeah, we've got two large men in
face paint, driving a police car,
possibly on cocaine.
Yeah. Quote unquote, possibly.
Possibly on cocaine. I mean, if you're stealing a cop car, you better be on drugs.
Yeah. Or at least dressed like that, I guess.
Yeah, at least as big as Lex Luger.
Back in the ring, the Nature Boy is being pummeled by Meng before they go to a test of strength.
Rick, I don't know if you're going to win this one, but you might cheat your way out of it.
But all of Meng's is in his big head as Flair goes low, followed by low blows to Sullivan and the Barbarian as well. The Enforcer tags in to take on Meng, where he goes low before hitting a DDT, makes the cover, but the ref is distracted, allowing the Dungeon to stomp on Double A to break up the pin. Barbie tags in to beat down Arn with a scoop slam, an elbow drop, and places Anderson in a tree of woe for a Sullivan running knee strike. Now Big Bubba's working over Anderson with right hands. Meng goes for a pile driver, but the Enforcer counters it into a back body drop, which Meng counters into a sunset flip, only for Double A to sit down on his shoulders. But they're in the ropes, allowing Bubba to deliver more right hands as we head to commercial.
Glacier is coming.
Before heading back to the action, where Arn fires up with a shot to Big Bubba's knee, allowing him to make the tag to Benoit, who whips Bubba to a corner before going after Sullivan, which allows the Dungeon to begin beating him down once again. Meng hits an atomic drop, Barbarian with a power bomb for a near fall, Big Bubba with a spine buster, only for Flair to come in and break up the cover. But it does allow Kevin to toss the Crippler out to the floor.
And as we know, these guys have had a feud. They've talked about it on commentary. You might know some stuff behind the scenes. But Kevin and Chris, Have a
little
feud
bit of
on
bad
screen and one off the screen.
A little bit of bad blood there.
Yeah.
Barbie looks to do more damage, but the Nature Boy protects him momentarily with a chair, forcing the Dungeon to roll Benoit back into the ring. Sullivan then hits a clothesline for several 2 counts. Bubba with a scoop slam, and he comes off the second rope, only for the Crippler to get a boot up to the chin on his way down. Now Kevin and Benoit exchange vicious chops, but a low blow by Sullivan brings Barbarian back in with headbutts for a near fall. Now Meng takes over, only to miss a clothesline, allowing the Crippler to come off the ropes with a crossbody for a 2 count. And Benoit makes the crawl to his corner, only for Big Bubba to cut off the tag with an elbow drop and chokes. But the Enforcer comes in and gives a true Spine Buster! Barbie has also come in to continue choking on the Crippler, allowing the Dungeon to keep control, where the Faces of Fear go for stereo flying headbutts, but Benoit sits up to avoid and makes the hot tag. Flair with chops and right hands to everybody, shin breaker to Sullivan before applying the figure 4, while everybody else brawls out to the floor, including the Crippler back body dropping Bubba and punching Jimmy Hart.
Fucking right. Knock his ass out.
Benoit starts yelling at Woman to help Nate if she's really for the Horsemen. So she climbs through the ropes to provide some leverage to the Nature Boy to cause Kevin's shoulders to stay on the mat for the pin and the win. Post-match, the NWO hits ringside and starts beating down everybody, including the ref.
Bobby Heenan leaves the announce desk in fear.
All of a sudden, the Giant comes running down to the ring, staring down the NWO. But he then grabs the Barbarian by the throat for a choke slam, followed by a choke slam to Meng. And the Giant and the Kevin Nash embrace, and it's official. The Giant is number 5.
Call him Johnny, baby.
Suddenly, Macho Man storms the ring with a steel chair, nailing Hall, Nash, and the Giant, before turning his attention to Hogan. And Savage charges in with a swing of the chair, only for Hollywood to duck and take Macho down, followed by a low blow. And the NWO go back to work at keeping the Horsemen and the Dungeon at bay, while Hogan nails Savage with the chair multiple times.
ECW.
Giant then chokeslams Macho before Hollywood hits 3 leg drops on him, followed by spray painting NW on his back and a yellow streak down his spine.
So Ted was distracting Lex and Sting so they could take these guys out.
The NWO then make their way to the broadcast area, where the Giant explains that DiBiase offered him more money than the WCW. And the Dungeon of Doom 4 Horsemen make their way to the booth to start the brawl up once again. But once it clears out, Hollywood returns to the announce table to say, whether you like it or you don't, it's the best thing going today. Woo! They then turn the table over and walk out as we fade to black.
Macho Man getting spray painted is a big deal. That guy has some anger issues. If you've ever watched wrestling at all.
So, fun fact, the 5th member of the NWO was originally supposed to be Davey Boy Smith, but he had re-signed with WWF.
Huh. I did not know that.
Interesting. I guess they wanted a big guy. Nobody's bigger than the Giant in this company. I mean, size-wise. Of course, Davey Boy Smith would be a much bigger deal for him to show up out of nowhere because everybody knows who he is. He doesn't have quite the...
Well, it also would have made a lot of sense since the NWO should be people that are from the other company.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Yep.
And now we have the Giant as the 5th member, which...
If you can't beat him, join him.
Basically.
Yeah.
Since they couldn't get the crossover big guy, they just went for the biggest big guy.
Yeah. They've already been
Yeah.
pushing, and none of it's really worked in any real way.
If you can't get Brett to be your 3rd man, then maybe get his brother-in-law to be your 5th man. But if you can't get your 3rd man or your first choice, 3rd, whatever I'm trying to say.
I get it.
Yeah. Then just go for the Giant.
I already feel over the NWO. Just saying.
Welcome to 1996.
I know. I was like, I'm already over it, or the NWO.
You know, you've got so many more
It's not
years,
a good feeling.
So many more members to go through.
Just saying.
Yeah. So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Monday Night Nitro from September 2nd, 1996?
Solid wrestling show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a solid show. There's angles. There's solid television matches. There's nothing like in the ring that you like have to see, but there's nothing in the ring that like you're super bummed about, and anything that goes
Other than maybe
Mongo, and then like the like giant squash, but the giant squash makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not mad at it, but the first few matches, like the tag match is good. The opening match with Diamond Dallas Page and Alex is good, and of course Malenko and Jericho is good, and Jericho got a pretty big win on television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll agree with all of that. It was a very storytelling show, setting up for Fall Brawl. Yeah, in modern day wrestling, they're getting better at telling stories again now, where we had so many years of just quick flash in the pan, blink and you miss it storylines.
Like,
or
what's on the
ones that
pay-per-view?
you invested nothing in, or it cared nothing about. And this one show here sprinkled, a little bit of all these different things going on in WCW, and they did it in a way that made it easy to watch, made it fun to watch, made it to where I didn't feel the need to skip forward over anything because, all right, I've had enough of this 20-minute nothing match.
Yeah, nothing outstayed its welcome, and like you said, everything was sprinkled throughout the show, as opposed to stopping the show for 30 minutes to give you all of this information. It's like, for instance, currently on WWF, like the best parts of the show are going to be like a Cody segment or a Bloodline segment, and it's like, oh, you might have to wait the whole show to get like your Bloodline segment that's like 15 or 20 minutes long, which, even though they've typically always been good, some better than others, of course, but like the sprinkling of the stuff throughout it, and then a culmination, or maybe like your 5 or 10 minute in-ring promo, instead of it just like being the whole thing everybody's been waiting for and then giving to it all at one time. They may have tapped out before they got to that point, because you're not always giving them very much. At the very least, you're giving them very little wrestling.
I mean, you guys nailed this on the head with y'all's thoughts. I mean, what little bit of wrestling that's on this show, it's good. There's literally nothing that's... I mean...
The last match is a little like long and sloppy.
I mean, it's a little long and sloppy, but it's actually...
a lot of people, yeah.
Like, but it's an 8-man tag. How many 8-man tags are not long and sloppy usually?
Yeah, then it's not like a Japan 8-man tag where there's like a formula typically. Like, these guys do this all the time. They know what they're doing. There's not a whole lot of... When was the last time we saw an 8-man tag in WCW? Can't even think of one.
I mean, we don't get to see them that often, so...
No.
But yeah, I mean, the storylines that were built up on the show, I mean, continuation of Nick Patrick, NWO adding members. I mean, that's the big...
Yeah, the distraction...
That's the big thing is...
Who's in the limo?
The distraction of Sting and Lex was done really well.
Yeah.
And like, they don't even like... I don't even know if they point out that it was a distraction, but like, it's obvious that that's what the whole purpose was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Nick Patrick threw the match, so they would chase him, and he ducked out of the way, and they saw Ted, and it was all planned out to get them out of there, so NWO could actually beat everybody down, where it would be less of a chance of them being able to pull that off with Sting and Luger around, considering that they are top guys.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? There. All right. Fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of this show?
Did we give Nick Patrick an MVP?
I mean,
He was very surprising.
Yeah.
Remind me, is he the one his dad was assassin? Or
yeah, Jody Hamilton. Yeah.
Cat. I was trying to remember that. Yeah, he had a nice little star-making performance on this show.
I mean, that's the reason why his promo... I mean,
Promo's pretty good.
He's cut promos before because he used to be a wrestler.
Yeah, and his promo was solid, and he knew what he was gonna say, and he obviously knew that it was important. So he it wasn't a sloppy Ric Flair promo.
Because literally everything he said is completely true, but at the same time, it's like, we know we don't want to like you.
Yeah. He did it in the manner and the attitude of, I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, and he also and then he pissed everybody off after that. We're like, okay, well, I guess he's not lying, and then all of a sudden he gives everybody blue balls for a match they want to see.
Sting's brick through the window.
Yeah,
loved it.
Diamond cutter out of nowhere.
Yes,
absolutely.
The Jericho bridging German was very beautiful to watch.
Absolutely.
That entire match was just
that's
super fun. It's a great TV match.
Super quality television match. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you want to see on television wrestling.
Absolutely.
A competitive match worked well with a upset win. That it doesn't mean that Dean Malenko can't get his win back. He was just better that night.
How about most disappointing?
Mongo. The beginning of that match where Mongo starts, and I legitimately thought he just wasn't playing ball because he botched so much that he was just mad and trying to fuck stuff up. But it's that doesn't make any sense. This match obviously matters. It's all for storyline, but there is still the Kevin and Chris stuff, and it's the Four Horsemen, so it should always matter. And Mongo just walking around like a toddler in a blindfold.
Yeah, we've in recent years we've watched a 10-year-old or 12-year-old wrestle a tag team championship match at WrestleMania with less botches than Mongo had in the first moments of this match.
3 minutes of this match.
Yeah.
Glacier is coming. Glacier.
Yeah.
Disappointment.
I can't wait till when we say that Glacier came.
Like a rock.
I mean, even though not getting the tag match, it's disappointing. Even though I know that it's good heat building.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where it's like they're doing this on this TV show, and I was like, oh, I get why. Absolutely.
Yeah, as soon as it happens, I'm like,
I get it.
Okay, makes sense.
Because it's who's gonna lose here? You don't want this Steiners to take a loss on television.
Davey Boy not being the fifth guy.
Literally
as soon as I read that, I was kind of like,
that would have been good.
That would have been very cool.
Yeah, that really makes me wonder
much more sense than the
what
Giant.
NWO would have been like with Davey Boy in it.
I mean, he would have been
the U.S. champ guy.
He also would have been the best wrestler in the group.
Yeah.
As far as in-ring work goes, I mean, it's him, Scott Hall. We all know Hogan can work, but Hogan does Hogan.
Or
so
would he have...
it's a different thing.
Also the thought process is, because if the original idea was definitely to have former WWF guys in the NWO.
Yeah.
Would they have stopped at 7 or 8 instead of just continuing to grow when literally it's who's not in the NWO?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched WrestleMania? You're in.
Yeah, for real. It's if they only stuck to that formula, it probably could have.
But once they opened it up with the Giant, it's kind of well, now we can just kind of bring in whoever.
It makes me wonder with Davey Boy, if he would have been the 5th member, would that have led to his downfall quicker, being on the same faction with Scott Hall and the party habits that he was known for, having the two of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it has its positives that he wasn't there, even though he wasn't long for the world, but...
Better on paper than the Giant,
yeah,
for sure.
It still makes me wonder what the hell it would have been like.
But I mean, the other side of that is, I mean, I think you're saying it wouldn't have been the Giant, but I'm thinking of the positive things that the Giant would have remained as a contender to Hogan.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of just being well, it's the Giant.
Yeah.
He has nothing to do now because
he's just a lackey.
He can't contend for
he's
the
not
belt.
A believable babyface yet.
How about best performer of the night? I mean, you mentioned Nick Patrick earlier. I don't hate that one.
Yeah, that was just kind of a fun MVP, but I mean, we probably give it to maybe Chris.
I mean,
Jericho.
Wrestling-wise, it's definitely Jericho. Mm-hmm. Storyline-wise, It'd
Nick or
probably be
Sting
Nick.
or yeah. I mean, it's a hard call. There's several that are worthy.
Absolutely. How about most surprising?
See, I was gonna put the whole Davey Boy 5th member thing just because I had no clue
Yeah.
that was even a thing.
That's kind of like,
possible thing.
the thing that you brought to it, but for on the show, it was nice to see the Hammer.
Yeah.
That was my
I
surprise.
was like, just good to see him.
Like, he popped up, and I was just all like,
Oh, I love the Hammer.
oh.
Yeah, yeah. Just it was a little warm fuzzy feeling.
Nasty Boys are back already.
But the Nasty Boys, if they're not in a trash match, can be good.
Mhm.
They're a good tag team. It's just if Heat and them have a match that doesn't involve a concession stand, I'm not opposed to it.
Making their way to the ring.
It's trivia time. So this week, the category is pay-per-feud.
We're back and it's time to play the feud. Let's have it. Sean.
5 points if you name the show with the first match that I give you. Points to send with each match given. So, the first match is Max Payne versus Johnny B. Bad.
Well, I know the promotion.
Yep. Yeah. I do not know the
93,
show.
94, correct?
Correct.
I'll take the second one.
Second match, the Horsemen of the Enforcer, Arn Anderson and Paul Roma, versus the Hollywood Blondes of Stunning Steve Austin and Flying Brian Pillman for the WCW and NWA World Tag Team Championships.
Damn.
Got a year in my mind. Need the name of the show.
Yeah.
And you didn't give me any stipulation matches, so it's probably not a Havoc. I don't know. And I don't know why I'm giving that away either, but that's my thought.
I've got a show in mind. I just don't know for sure if that's the right one because, yeah, I'll take the next one.
All right, for 3 points, Ravishing Rick Rude versus the Natural Dustin Rhodes for the vacant WCW United States Heavyweight Championship in a 30-minute Iron Man match.
I think I might just gamble here.
Go for it if you feel it.
The only problem is, I'm just going to go for it. Because of the amount of belts, I want to say a Clash 93,
That is incorrect.
but I feel like we don't watch as many Clashes. That's why it was a gamble.
Want to take a guess? Go for
See,
another
I was
match?
thinking that too, but I just have to ask: is he wrong because he said the year and not the number of the show?
It is not a Clash of the Champions.
Yeah, it's. I figured
Okay.
I figured it wasn't like. I was like, if
Because
it's.
I was sitting in my brain, it was like,
Clash
is it like
24.
Clash 23?
I would have
Clash
asked for
24?
more information.
Yeah, I guess I would have had to pick a number, which
Yeah.
I never would have got.
Then yeah, I'll take the next one.
Okay, for 2 points, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, versus Barry Windham for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship.
What show was that? That was it a Starrcade? I'm trying to think. Let's say Barry Windham and Ric Flair. What shows did you fight on? I don't think it was Starrcade. I want to say it was something in the springtime, like Spring Stampede or something like that. But fuck it, Super Brawl 4.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Starkid 93.
The last match was Masters of the Powerbomb of Big Van Vader and Sid Vicious with Harley Race and Colonel Robert Parker versus Sting and the British Bulldog Davey Boy
Beach
Smith
Blast.
at Beach Blast 1993.
Yeah, I know it wasn't.
Like I knew it was springtime-ish.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was like, well, is the last match a War Games? But you would think Ric Flair would be in a War Games, but it's like the heavyweight match isn't going on last.
Next week, When Worlds Collide 1996.
ECW, and
Back in Philly.
when the world that they're colliding with is All Japan.
I honestly don't have any clue why they called it this.
I think so. There's a good All Japan a good amount of All Japan guys here, right? Like 3 of them.
Is there?
I think so. Doug Furness and Dan Coffin or whatever.
I mean, I guess there's a few there.
Are they all Japan guys? Okay.
Yeah.
They all came from All Japan.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 guys that are on the show.
Dr. Death and Gordy. I mean, Dr. Death is All Japan guy mostly. That's where his career
most of those
was
guys
good.
had shown up before. That's the only reason why it's kind of like,
Yeah.
are they from All Japan?
Yeah. It's like,
But I
yes,
guess
they do work there, but
I guess
they're not
they
there
have
right
worked
now.
there previously.
That's where they're famous from. Like, Doug Furness
That's
is famous for that. Dr. Death is famous for doing good work there, not as famous for his work in the U.S.
Music from this week's show is Firestorm, which is the opening of Nitro. And the Horsemen won our main event, so we play their theme music, Coast, by Paul Riordan.
Good music.
And if you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify,
Hey.
Spot it.
or wherever you find your podcasts at.
We got that Joe Rogan deal, $100 million.
Damn fucking right.
Are you holding out on me? 'Cause I haven't seen a penny of it.
That's how we got the coasters. Huh? Or the magnets.
Coasters are coming in next week.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns,
We're going to Philly next, right?
that is right.
Oh, going back to Philly. Motown, Philly, back again.
When worlds collide. All
that
Japan
one in a while.
and All Japan and Philadelphia. Philadelphia roll.
I mean, Oklahoma meets Philadelphia. We got Dr. Death apparently on that show, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the Okie Philly connection.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to Philly, if you have any knowledge of Philly foods, drinks, desserts, snacks, I don't know, something, hit us up on the old Twitterverse. Slide into our DMs. Give us a shout out, something. Maybe we'll send you a magnet. Who knows?
Who knows?
Possibilities out there, folks. But yeah, we're going to Philly, so that's always my... Fuck, it's becoming a kryptonite. I can't wait until ECW goes other places. It's gonna be weird.
Sometimes you go to Queens.
True.
If you have any of those things, you can always email us at WrestlingHistoryX@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at WrestlingHistoX. That's WrestlingHistoX. We'll talk to you next week.
Laters.